The Apostle Paul modelled his life and ministry on that of his Lord. In this session 6, we follow the journey of Paul's church planting, the 3 major missionary journeys that we read of reported in the book of Acts. We see how he followed the relational streams approach, the Ethne principle, his commitment to the households as a basis for multiplying churches, the oikos principle, and we also observe how he planted mission hubs, churches that multiplied out into their provinces. So we're going to look at each of these journeys. I would like you to turn your conversation guides to pages 20 and 21, where we explore the first journey of the Apostle Paul, found reported in Acts chapters 13 and 14. On this first journey, Barnabas and John Mark and Saul at that time, who changed his name to Paul on this first journey, left Antioch for Cyprus. They were following Barnabas and John Mark's relational stream. And so we have a graphic that portrays relational streams, ethne, family groups. And in each relational stream, there are key people. And when those key people become followers of Jesus, they, as new disciples, multiply out, sharing the gospel into their relational streams. On this particular journey, they went to Cyprus, they crossed the island, sharing the good news of the resurrection of Jesus in the towns and the villages across Cyprus until they reached Paphos. And there we read that the governor, also referred in history as the king of Cyprus, Sergius Paulus, became a believer in Jesus. Now, what is interesting then is that they immediately left. Paul and Barnabas and John Mark immediately travelled north. They didn't stop in the coastal towns of Pamphylia to share the gospel, but they continued up into the rugged mountains heading north into central Anatolia. It became too tough for John Mark, and he left and returned back to Jerusalem. But Paul and Barnabas continued on to Pisidian Antioch. Why did they go there? Archaeology and historians indicate to us that Sergius Paulus, the king of Cyprus, or the governor of Cyprus, he had his family connections, his relational connections in Pisidian Antioch. And so in going to Cyprus, they were following the relational streams of Barnabas and John Mark. As they headed north, they were following the relational streams of the governor of Cyprus. On that first journey, Paul was committed to following relational streams. Now, this commitment to ethne, or the relational streams principle, was very different to the mission station approach that was developed during the colonial days of the 18th and 19th centuries, illustrated on page 21 in your conversation guide, where a compound was established, a school was established, a printing press, a health centre, a small chapel, accommodation for the foreign missionaries, and then for indigenous missionaries, and the community was pushed back. The relational streams approach is based on the concept of incarnation, where we go deeply into a community, leading people into a relationship with God as we walk with them. I would like you now to work in your church planting teams for the next 15 minutes, looking at the question on page 20, what are the strengths of Jesus' relational streams approach when compared to the mission station approach? And then working through the application section on page 21. Whose relational streams did Paul and Barnabas follow? What relational streams do your teams have that need to be followed? Who might be key people you know, welcoming and receptive with a reputation and influence that you will engage with and share with? Spend 15 minutes together, and then we will explore Paul's second missionary journey.